Hello, Dean.
G'day, Jethro.
How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Looking forward to Retail Fest in a few weeks.
Yes, suitably recovered from Vegas and now ready for the next one.
Right in time.
So, I guess today, the intent of today is to kind of tell people what Retail Fest is actually about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Um,
I spoke at the keynote last year and I asked the audience how many people is it their first time, and felt like everybody put their hand up. So I think, as always, there's quite a substantial pool of new people coming every year, and they really don't know how to navigate it. So let's have a chat and from one veteran to another.
yeah, I'm not even going to get into how many of these we've been to. I can't. I have no idea. Like, I'll just say a lot.
You've lost count.
Um, So I think let's quickly talk about the history of this. So this Retail Fest has been around for a long time. This used to have a different name. It used to be called PISA, and this was used to be an eBay marketplace conference, and it's sort of morphed and evolved into what I would say is probably the second largest retail event in Australia after Online Retailer. Um, I think one of the questions I often get asked, and this would be an interesting point, is what is the difference between Online Retailer and Retail Fest?
Yeah, yeah, I get asked a lot. If I was to pick a conference, which one should I do? What's the difference between them all? I get asked that all the time, since I've obviously, me and you have both attended them all and many times over. Yeah, and I mean, I don't know about you, but I tell people, look, they're all very different. They attract different crowds, and it's not like one's better than the other. It's probably more what fits best for you, and which one's sort of suits best. I feel like, correct me, I'd be interested in your opinion, but I think, online Retail Fest particularly is definitely great from the small to medium retailer point of view. Your pure plays definitely pretty heavy on that. The content, and it's more around the content. The content is a lot of great stories from founders, guys that are in the tools, a lot of practical takeaways. That's the best thing about this conference, is you're getting very practical, takeaways from the speakers. I find, it's very much operators telling you what they're doing right now. So you find the audience tends to lean into that as well. The audience tends to be founders, CEOs of small to medium, head ofs in larger businesses. So yeah, I find it's definitely that small to medium space is where it's very heavy. What are your thoughts?
I agree with that. I think it's, I think there's a Venn diagram where there is a bit of an overlap between the two. I think you're right with that. I think it's a different kind of vibe to online retail. I think online retailer it's huge, and there's just a lot going on, which is awesome. But I find the big difference with this is that this is a destination event, a little bit like what we did in Shop Talk in Vegas, where the big ones that are in Sydney and Melbourne, like Online Retailer, it's a great experience during the day, but then people kind of go off and they go back to normal life. Whereas at a destination event, you've kind of got you've got all the activities during the day, all the content, and then you've kind of got an additional layer of it, which is an additional level of networking where people are there and just spending time doing stuff, which
Yeah,
I
100%.
find
There's
from a
nowhere to go.
networking perspective. Correct, which is great. Like, it's a good outcome, right? Because there's either drinks, there's either events going on that the sponsors are putting on, or there's our party, which we'll talk to in a sec. But there's just opportunities really to spend a lot of time with the other attendees. And I think in a destination event like this, like iMedia is probably another good example of this. There's just a tremendous opportunity for that, which I don't think is as prevalent in some of the Sydney, Melbourne events, where they're bigger, but it's just a different dynamic. I think in terms of the content, you're right. I think the content is generally very good, very practical. I think there are some larger businesses there. I don't think it's just the small to medium size.
Oh no, you definitely do get it, particularly your Queensland large retailers that it's just easy to go to. The Queensland large retailers, definitely, you get your super retail groups and those guys there. So yeah, I agree with that. You do get a spread. I'm probably just talking more about where the majority is.
No, I think you're right with that. And there's a lot of marketplace going on here as well. So it's, in addition, you've got the standard retail, the D2C guys, the bricks and mortar. You've also got the marketplace traders, players who are not necessarily as well represented in some of the other conferences. And then it's great because some of the content is very specific to them. I'm actually running a panel at this one very specific to marketplace sellers, and it's not something we'd be doing at any of the other conferences.
Yeah, and I'd say also the people that go are intentional. Like the vibe's a little bit different, like you said, to not just because it's a destination like to the other ones, but also like with Online Retailer, for example, they've got the expo floor, which is free, and then you've got the paid conference streams. Whereas Retail Fest, you've got everybody that's attending the event is a paid attendee. They're attending the content, so well,
there's one caveat to that, which is they've run the same program. They run the same program that they do at Shop Talk, where the hosted program, where qualifying retailers who are prepared to take, I think 8 to 12, I think it's 12 meetings at this one, can get a free ticket, and then also their hotels paid for. So you've got the whole meetup thing that's going on. I think, and sorry, that's interesting. So just to kind of segue into from a vendor perspective, I think like that, to me, is the best way for vendors to get in front of the right people. So I think that's one aspect of this which is a little bit different. I know iMedia's got something like that. Online Retailer does not yet anyway, and maybe they'll change it. But I think personally, if I was a vendor, that would be one of the biggest attractions, is that you can come along and buy meetings and get in front of decision makers who have opted in to have the 15-20 minute meeting with you. I think this is a weird configuration. There's like 12 minutes or something. I'm not sure why 12, but that's what they've chosen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm not a retailer anymore, but when I didn't mind those meetings. You get to meet interesting vendors that you may not have otherwise. It's only 10 minutes, so they've kind of capped their time. I liked it. I used to like them as a retailer. I didn't mind getting pitched for 10 minutes.
No, I'm the same, and it's a double opt-in, right? So I only pick the types of vendors, or the specific ones that, depending on how it works, which are in an area that we're potentially looking at something. So like you get to, it's not guaranteed you're going to get a transaction or that something's going to come of it, but it's like, to me, it's the most qualified, lowest impact way of doing this, which I think is great.
If I was to summarize, and I probably should have done it at the beginning, but the big things for me about Retail Fest are the practicality of the takeaways. I feel like the speaking tends to be, there's inspirational stuff in there, don't get me wrong, but I feel like when I go to speaker talks at Retail Fest, I get takeaways. Secondly would be the people. They're probably the two big ones, is that it's just, you meet heaps. Like iMedia is a networking conference. This is probably, other than, iMedia is invite only or whatever, and only allow 100 people to that one. So with this one, you get to meet people all over the place. Like you go there, you're meeting people in the hallways, at the sessions, at the drinks afterwards, at the parties. And, we've put it on steroids now that we've got the community thing happening. So it's even more, you're just meeting people, and you're getting to know more about everybody that's attending, more than than any of the other conferences, that put together. And I found, like, over the years, that's where I've got a lot of value out of the people I've met. Like I've met some great people who I now call friends at Retail Fest. It's been awesome. And, I do pick up the phone occasionally and ask for advice, and just learned some great things and made some good friends. I think this conference connects you with, it's from a community perspective, it's probably, arguably the best, in terms of networking.
It's a great prelude to being able to explain. So what are we doing here? Like, what's, from a community perspective, what are we up to?
What are we up to? Well, let me explain it to you, Jethro. So yeah, obviously we've come up with this together, but we're running our first birthday party. So last year at Retail Fest, without, a lot of people have heard the story about 100 times, but Jethro and you and I were sitting at an airport. Well, I was sitting at an airport. I texted you, said, "Are you coming to Retail Fest?" You said yes, and I said, "Well, you said, where are we going to catch up?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be out somewhere, because that's what happens at Retail Fest." And you said, "I'll start a WhatsApp group, and let's, can you invite some cool people?" And I thought everyone was cool, so I invited everyone in retail. And by the time I got off the plane an hour later, it was 50 people. By the end of the day, it was 100. By the end of the conference, it was 300. And here we are nearly a year later, and it's nearly 2,000. So, now we've got a fully functioning community. Back then, it was just for shits and giggles, we'll say, and a lot of fun, a lot of selfies, a lot of shit talk. Whereas now it's it's functional. People are getting value from it. People are asking questions. There's an AI chat group, a cross-border group, a startups group, an open to work group. There's about 100 groups.
And importantly, there's a Retail Fest group, right? There's a Retail Fest group.
Retail Fest group. This year, this will be that group's year number 2 for that group. And yeah, so we're going to hold our first birthday party. We've taken over the After Dark, what was historically After Dark party, which normally I think even on its own would pull 300 to 400 retailers to that event. And we've decided to take it over and ask for a bit of extra capacity from the venue so we can go a little larger. And we're going to have our first birthday party at 19 at the Star on night 2, which I think is the 6th of May. And yeah, we're just going to have one big networking event and invite everyone to celebrate with us for our 1-year anniversary.
It's going to be fun. Don't miss out.
Plenty of networking, plenty of drinks, plenty of conversations, plenty of memories. To be honest, a lot of business does get done at these events, and in a good way. I think, like, you just don't know who you're going to meet. I've met so many cool retailers just out on the balcony having a drink and say hello to someone random, and next minute you're having a detailed conversation that you get some value from. So I love that event, and now we get to take it next level.
We get to host it. So I guess aside from the obligation for people to come along to our party, what are the other 2 or 3 things that that immediately come to mind? I know we haven't really thought this through enough, but what are the 2 or 3 things that come to mind as immediate tips for people to survive and thrive through the event?
Survive and thrive. Definitely get a bit of sleep before you get to before you start it. It's a marathon, 3 days. And like we said, there's a lot going on after. So there's a lot of value going out at night and meeting people. So I wouldn't go there sleep deprived, that's for sure. And I'm not joking about it. I think I've had conversations with people before, and I've dragged them out because I thought I'm just going to have a quiet night in, and dragged them out, and they haven't regretted it because they've just met some awesome people. So I think the number one is just be social, get around, get out to the events, get amongst it. I think if it's your first time, you're going to be a bit apprehensive. I think just put yourself out there. You won't regret it. You'll go to an event, you'll grab a drink, and you'll definitely meet some cool people. That's how I started out. I mean, I started going to this event, what was it, 15 years ago or whatever. It's showing our age. And didn't know anyone, wasn't anybody, was just a guy that owned a party store, and just went out and met people, and here we are. I've built a community now.
It's interesting, that point, because I think I reflect back on the beginning, and I think you arrive at these things and you think, oh, everybody knows everybody, and I'm the odd one out. Like I'm the But I think you kind of have to recognize, and it's the point you made earlier about how many new people. A large number of people are in exactly the same position as you. I think it's the same in every conference. And everybody sits there, and often if they don't know enough people, they're sort of just standing around not quite sure what to do. And the problem is, like, you just got to go and talk to people. Like, everyone's in the same boat. I don't think I've ever been at one of these conferences where I've tried to talk to someone, they've been unwilling to want to have a chat. Like, everyone is there to connect and to communicate. That's actually a really great thing about the group, and I've noticed it. When I think you've done it a few times. Like, if you have nothing planned, and so you just drop it into the WhatsApp group, hey, impromptu, who wants to go have a drink or a coffee or whatever. And all of a sudden, you've got 5-10 new friends that have all of a sudden appeared because chances are, if you've got nothing to do, there's 5 or 10 other people who haven't got anything to do either, and they'd love to be able to connect at the same time.
Well, we did it at ETAL, at ETAL last year in I think it was September. I just said, hey, everyone, I'm at ETAL. I'm going out for drinks here. Who wants to come? And 40 of us on a rooftop in Melbourne.
So good.
Just a message saying, who wants to catch up tonight? I'm going out. If you want to join me, join me. Otherwise, I'll go drink on my own with a mate here. And that was it. So and Retail Fest is that on steroids. I mean, there'll be parties going everywhere. If you say I'm going to bar XYZ, if you just rock up at a bar on the Gold Coast during that week, you will bump into retail people. It's guaranteed.
Well, that was the whole impetus of this group. Like, I was always frustrated turning up late and not knowing where to go. Like, it was just pot luck. But now you've got the group that'll tell you, right, these are the places to be. So I think that's very important. And I think during the day, the other thing I would say is, like, hey, get to the content that looks interesting to you. You can't do everything. Like, that's one of the things I've learned over and over. It's one of these, you start out with the intent to go to everything, plan, but if something, and don't be shy to go, like, if the content doesn't work for you, then just walk straight out, go find something else. There's always 4 or 5 concurrent things going on, and you don't want to stick around and have to, labor through something that's of no use. I think just be ruthless about it. If it's not working, move on. And if there's nothing going on at that point, then use the time constructively. Go walk around the floor, talk to the vendors. They don't bite. Sometimes you feel that they do, but they don't. And just in general, try and engage and with each other. I think it's an awesome experience. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I definitely think planning's a key there. Like, have the sessions that you want to go to. There will be some that you really want to go to. And I think people, I know you and I do it. We're guilty of it. But you go and you get caught up in conversations with people, and then you miss the session you really wanted to go see. So I think if you plan that, at least you can manage that a little better, and you'll get to some of the sessions that you really wanted to get to. I think that's a key with this event, because it does get quite interesting, and you'll meet some cool people, and then you'll get stuck. So definitely plan.
What's your last thought on this? Anything any other wisdom we should dispense in this final point?
Last point for everyone to think about. I think, look, I just think it's going to be a real fun week. So come with a good attitude, and come fresh. And I think just come ready to learn a bunch of stuff. I think that's the key, is that you're just going to be curious. You never know who you're going to meet, and don't be shy. I think, a lot of people I find that people are shy and apprehensive, and once they start leaning into it and they try some things, it just seems to work. And I think, my last thing I'd say is just come along and get amongst it.
Sage words. Well, we look forward to seeing everybody there. Thanks very much.
Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.